We are on the section 5.2, page 46, using summation notation. Okay. On chapter 5, before, on section 5.1, we learned two notations, right? One is factorial, another one is what? Combination notation. And this section 5.2, we are going to learn another notation. It's called summation notation. Okay? Summation means what? The sum. It looks like this, sigma. Okay? Summation notation. If I write summation notation with I equals, okay, I have I equals 1 to 4, 3i. What does it mean? Okay, so this one is what we call sigma. Summation means sum. Okay, the top one is what? Upper index, we call it. Then lower one is what? Lower index. Okay, the I is, we call it index of the summation. We might use J, then inside is J. And if I use I, inside is I, right? So you start from 1 to 4. And so for sigma sum, what do we need to do? It means I'm going to sum up the 3i. The I started from 1 lower to the top, 4, right? Means my I can be what? 1, 2, 3, 4. So when my I is 1, that means what? 3 times 1, 3i, 3 times I, right? When I is 2 means what? 3 times 2. When I is 3 means what? 3 times 3. When I is 4 is what? 3 times 4. The summation notation means what? Find the sum. So this summation notation means this way. Then you add them 3 times 1, 3 plus 6, all that. Then you get 30. That would be your answer. Okay, so we are learning this sigma right now, the summation notation, right? Pretty straightforward. Then if we have some example, we say find the sigma I equals 3 to 7 of I. So what do we need to do? So I start from 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 7, right? So I is 3, that whole thing is 3, I is 4, is 4, you sum up, so that you will add them up. So your answer should be 25. Got it? Okay, that's how we do. Look at the example 2. It says the formula for the sample mean, sometimes called the average. X bar is, right, X bar equals sigma I is 1 to n xi over n. You will see this quite often in your stats class. Then it says, okay, you have what? x1, x2, x3, what I is 1, 2, 3, all the way maybe till 10, 20, right? Till n. N is your stopping point, upper bound, upper index, right? Then we see how we are going to use this and what does that actually mean, okay? Look at the examples. It says on your number 2, right? That's the formula given and say X bar means what? The average. It means what? Mean. Mean means what? Average. Okay, we use this formula. So what does it really mean is you add all the items up. If I have 5 items, I add them all up and divide by 5. If I have 10 items, I add all the 10 items up, divided by 10. Then you get your average, right? Mean, average. You put a bar on top. That means average. That's the symbol you will use in stats. Okay? So look at your some examples on your page 46. It says a survey was conducted asking 8 older adults how many sexual partners they have had in their lifetime. Okay? Then you got to answer is what? You'll have answer is 4, 12, 1, 3, 4, 9, 24, and 7. What does this mean? You got the data, right? For asking a person. Take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it means what? This is for person 1, right? This is for person 2. So for person 1, and he or she has 4 partners. Person 2 has 12 partners. Person 3 only have 1. Then this one is for the person 8. You ask, then he or she has 7 partners. Okay? Then if you ask 8 persons, then we say, okay, use the formula, find the simple mean. That's your sample, right? Mean is average. What's the average for those 8 people and how many sexual partners they have, right? What do you think? You would do 4 plus 12 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 9 plus 24 plus 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Then divided by 8. Then that would be your average, right? So that's how the thinking goes. But when it's more complicated, we will use the formula. Okay, you use the notations, symbols to help us to think, to write down things, okay, to calculate, manipulate that way. So if we use this one, how do we write? We say, okay, my average, okay, my survey's average, 8 person, average how many partners they have. Then we will do what? Sigma I is 1 to how many? Our N is what? 8. 8 persons for this case, right? We will do XI. I can be 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way. Then divided by 8, right? So you actually write it out will be what? X1 plus X2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's what this symbol means. XI means little I subscript 1 all the way to 8. Then divided by 8, right? Then what is your X1? X1, first number. X2, second number. So you need to relate the symbols to the data we are talking about. Okay? So you plug in, that would be what? Like here. So for 4 for X1, then 12 and 1, 3, 4, 9, 24, and 7. Right? Divided by 8. So that's 64 divided by 8. So that would be what? 8. So the answer is 8. Average. So what we want you to learn is, we'll give you a formula. Then how do you relate those symbols to actual data and actual meaning of the things you are working with? then you get a result, average. Okay, so we are learning first the summation notation for sigma from 1 to n, 1 to 8. You have x1 all the way to x8, then divided by 8. Then that's how we use this formula to do it. Okay? Are we good? This is one type of symbols, summation notation symbol you are using. Look at your next example on page 47, number 3. It says, an online clothing retailer is exploring the best price to charge for their new designer shirts. The table below shows the price, okay, and price X, okay, shirt sold. And Y is what? The price, actual cost, okay? Then predict the sale is 13709865136. That's your table, right? Okay, based on the regression line, whatever that is, right? The linear line. The table below shows the data retailer collected. We see what it actually means. Then it says the sum of square residuals is a statistic that is important in analysis and given by the formula. It gives you the formula sigma sum. I equals 1 to n, 1 minus 1 half to the square. Okay, predict the cost is y half. Actual cost is y. Okay. So they want you to find the sum of the square procedure. You will need to use this formula later in stats class to find the summation between what? Actual cost and predicted cost. Okay? If when you sell the price as 17, whatever the price X, okay, then Y is the how much actual cost you sold, then predict the cost is this way. It's confusing, isn't it? What does the actual cost? Y means. And predict the cost. We understand actual cost and predict the cost, but how it relates to price tag, it didn't say. Right? Why the table is this way? You don't know. When you are intern on your first job, if you are given this table, you will have hard time at the beginning to understand what it actually means. You have to do your job to figure out, okay, when price is this way, actual cost for the designer shirts is this way. Why is this way? I don't know. It didn't tell me, right? But when you do the job, you will figure out why it's this way. But what we wanted to do is find the something square. Residual means what? The difference between the actual and predict. Right? So the difference is the residual between the actual and the predict. Then you take a square. Then you want you to find the what? The sum of the square of the residual. So this part is the difference, right? Then you want you to square them and sum them together, because you are going to use this formula to do other things. But that's for your stats class. But for this class, you have to do the summation first. See how you can apply the numbers to the formulas. Okay, if you are interns, they give you this table, just throw to you a paper, then they want you to calculate this. May not be 5 numbers, you might have hundreds numbers. Then how you are going to use this? Now we do it by hand. Later on, you will figure out how to use calculator or use spreadsheet, okay, to do it. When they give you this table, it must be in spreadsheet. Then how do you use Excel to plug in all these formulas? Okay, but first you do it by hand so you know how can you apply it, right? So according to this, how many items we are talking about? So your N is what? 5 things we are talking about, right? So for this to do, you have to do what? Sigma I is 1 to 5, right? Then you do actual minus predict the value, Y hat, predict the cost. Then that's your residuals. Then they want you to square it. Then you find the sum of these residuals, right? So what do? This is item, I is 1, I is 2, second item, all the way 5 items, right? So what do? So actual minus predict. So you do 13A5 minus 13A8, take square. That's I is 1, first item, right? For the second item, you do what? 1376 minus what? 1370, you take a square, right? For the third item, you would do 1833 minus 1388 minus 1389, take a square. Then fourth item, you would do what? 1364 minus 1365, take a square. Next one would be what? 1370 minus 1366 square. So you do that. Then first one would be -3 square. Second one would be what? 6 square. Third one is -10 square, right? Fourth one is what? -1 square. And this one is difference 4 square. Then you add them together. What do you have? Remember, -3 square is what? -3 times -3 turned out is 9. 9 plus 36 plus 100 plus 1 plus 16. Your answer should be what? 162. You don't know how to use the answer for the purpose whatever you need to do in stats yet. But right now, just get you ready. If we ask you, find the residual square and sum of the residual square, what do you need to do? Residuals means difference between actual and predict. So you will be given this formula, then you need to take a square, okay? Then you sum them up. Then your answer, the number is this one. Then you manipulate this number for other purpose later. Okay? So we are learning what? The summation notation, how to apply bunch of numbers to the summation we need to do. Got idea? Okay, let's look at the example 4 on your page 47. So for this section, we are learning what? The summation notation, how to use it, right? So previously on your example 2 on your page 47, we said mean is what? You add them all up, summation divided by total, how many numbers do you have? And next one you are learning is what? To find the residual, then you take square, you take summation. Okay? And this example, we are going to use something called standard deviation. You are going to use this a lot, okay, for your stats. then formula is what? Like this, okay? Sigma x minus x bar take a square over n minus 1, right? So you have x bar, that's your mean, which is average all your x's. Then you are going to find the difference between the actual number, data point, and your average between. Then you squared it like residuals. Then you find the summation, you divide it by n minus 1, you take a square root. Then that will be your standard deviation. Okay? So this is the one you are going to use a lot and for your stats, but you have to know how to do the sigma. Find the difference between the data point and the average. Okay? Then the average, you need to use the formula, the sigma like this. Okay? That's called standard deviation. Let's look at the example 4. We are going to calculate the mean and the standard deviation. We are going to calculate the mean and standard deviation, okay, for the following set of sample data by hand. Round all values to 4 decimal places when possible. So you will be given 2, 8, 10, 9, 6. Those are your x's. Okay? Now, let's calculate the mean. Want you to find the mean, right? Then, we want you to find the standard deviation. So, we want to find the mean and find the standard deviation with these data sets. Data set, right? You have 5 numbers, right? That's your x's. That's x1. So n is what? N is 5, right? x1 and x2, x3, x4, x5. 5 numbers is what? 2, 8, 10, 9, and 6. That's the data given, right? We want to do 2 things. First, find the average, mean. Then find the standard deviation. So, how do you find the mean? Mean means what? You add them together, divided by total number. So what do? So you do 2 plus 8 plus 10 plus 9 plus 6 divided by 5, right? So your mean is 7. So you have $2, $8, $10, $9, $6 each person. What's the average for 5 person? You add it together, divided by 5. So average is $7. Total would be $35, right? Now we want to find the standard deviation. So right now we just learn how to plug in, but later on you have to remember what's the formula for standard deviation, okay? Standard deviation means what? Sigma, okay, and x minus x bar, and take square over n minus 1. Your n is 5, right? How many x's you have? 5 of them. Then you have to find the difference between the regular data and the mean. Then you take a square, which we practiced earlier. Right? Then how do you plug in? You need to do this, right? You need to do square root of 5 numbers, right? First number is 2. You want you to do 2 minus what? Average, 7. Then take a square. That's the first item, right? You have 5 items, sum up. So second item will be what? Second term, a minus average bar, x bar, take a square. Third item is 10 minus the average, take a square, right? Fourth item will be what? Fourth item is 9. 9 minus 7, take a square. Plus fifth item is 6. 6 minus 7, take a square, right? That's what is the sum here for, right? Summation of 5 items. The difference between the data point and the mean. N is 5, right? So you're 5 minus 1. So that's what we expect you to do to find the standard deviation. Then you will find out what does it mean, actually how to use it in stats class. Right now, we just tell you the basic, how to calculate those numbers. So we have 25 here plus 1 here, 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4, negative 1 squared is 1. So you need this, 5 minus 1 is 4, you need to do that, okay? So you add it up together is 40 divided by 4, take a square root. Standard deviation is this formula. You have to remember that, right? So that would be square root 10, okay? Then to do it in the calculator, what do? We say for square root, you use what? Power of 0.5, or you use square root symbol. If you use the exponent, then power symbol, you use that 0.5. So you get what? 3.1622277 something, right? Then the question tells you how many decimals do we need? 4 places. So you need to round it to the 4 places, keep to 4, then round up, right? So your answer should be 3.1623. That would be your answer for this data set for the standard deviation. So for standard deviation, you have to find the mean first, which is add them up together divided by total number, right? That's the summation symbol. Then standard deviation, you have to do summation of the difference square divided by n minus 1. This is the formula. So for this class, you need to get used to how to apply the numbers, the data set, into the formula for algebra part of it. Okay, so that's what you need to learn. So for chapter 5, we are learning the new symbols, right? One is factorial in your section 5.1, factorial and combination. How do you choose, 7 out of 16 to make your fruit platter, right? How many options you have. That's one kind of symbol you are learning, notation, right? Okay, so we have what? Factorials and combination symbol, right? Combination notation. Now we are learning what? Summation notations. So you have 3 new notations you are learning. At the same time, you are applying different things to calculate the mean and standard deviation by using the summation notation. Got idea? Okay, so that will cover your section 5.2, right? 5.2. Are we good?